I'm the only certificate Santa Claus, not only in the Holy Land, also in the Middle East.
I'm David Knowles, and this is Battle Lines, Israel-Gaza.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה. לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה.
Terrorist group Hamas unleashed pure, unadulterated evil in the world. But sadly, the Jewish people know perhaps better than anyone that there is no limit to the depravity of people when they want to inflict pain on others.
Like every place I go run away, and I just find bombs and I find dead people. And like maybe one day I'll end up like them, but it's a really scary thing for me.
People telling me that, mostly this is about Hamas, but they're also angry with absolutely everybody.
I'm begging the world to bring my baby back home.
In this episode of Battle Lines, I speak to Middle East correspondent Nataliya Vasilyeva, who brings us up to date with the news from the fighting, the diplomacy, and the unprecedented events in the Red Sea as Houthi rebels target international shipping. Then we stay with Nataliya for a special dispatch from Jerusalem as she interviews the only licensed Santa in the city, ahead of a Christmas full of worry and fear for the region's Christian population. Nataliya, thank you so much for your time. Could you just talk us through some of the major events you've seen in Israel over the past week?
Hi, David, and hi, everyone. Very busy weekend, Israel-Palestine in Gaza, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any let-up anytime soon. After about a month, I think it's been a month since we had the first regional hostage deal in which about 100 Israeli hostages were released. For the first time in a month, we're hearing the reports that there are talks underway between Israel and Hamas, mediated by Qatar and Egypt, that looks like they could be producing some results. It looks like both parties are anxious for a pause in fighting, and also the Israeli government has been under pressure from the families of the hostages primarily to try and provide some kind of a solution, and then trying to rescue some of the people in Hamas captivity. Now, earlier this week, we had the chief of Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, the CIA director, and Qatar's prime minister meeting in Poland. I think expectations were very low from the start. No one expected those negotiations to produce an immediate result right away. But reports on Thursday morning suggest that there might be some stumbling blocks for this deal, because Israel is believed to have offered a 1-week ceasefire in exchange for 40 prisoners. And we have known for a while that Hamas is in favor of a longer pause. It essentially wants a truce. But we just heard on Thursday morning from Egyptian officials quoted by the pro-Qatar newspaper Al Arabiya Al Jadid that the leadership of Hamas, by which we mean its leader Yahya Sinwar, has rejected Israel's offer of a partial ceasefire and instead insisted that they would only agree to a lasting truce and all Palestinian prisoners released, including high-profile figures. Now, that makes a real big difference compared to the previous rounds of talks, because previously Hamas seemed happy to see any Palestinian prisoners walk out of jail. We saw exclusively Palestinian women and children, teenagers, released from Israeli captivity. This time they want really high-profile figures. And this is going to be clearly a sticking point for Israel, because there doesn't seem to be any appetite in the Israeli society to release people who've been described as murderers and terrorists. It's interesting that we even got the names of the people that Hamas wants to release. Among them are not only people linked to Hamas as such, but other Palestinian figures, including most prominently Marwan Barghouti. He is, I would say, hands down, the most famous Palestinian leader in jail at the moment. He was imprisoned during the second Intifada, and he has been in jail for over 20 years now, serving several life sentences without any prospect of getting released. And it was really interesting to see his name being mentioned, because a recent opinion poll in the West Bank showed that Barghouti was a more popular choice as the leader of the Palestinian Authority than the current president Mahmoud Abbas or any other Palestinian figure. Separately, I think we should speak broadly about the region, because obviously one of the biggest stories in the recent weeks is a crisis that we're seeing around the Red Sea, where Yemen's Houthi rebels have been attacking commercial ships. And I think that there's been at least 15 ships that have been attacked in one way or another. That has prompted a real crisis in commercial shipping. We've seen some major shipping company canceling the trips, saying that they would be rerouting their vessels. They would be rerouting them around Africa, which would add at least 10 days to each journey. And on Monday, at least there was a bit of a progress on that front. We heard from the United States when the Pentagon unveiled an international coalition aimed to stop the attacks by the Houthis and take some steps to stop this massive disruption to global shipping that, at the end of the day, is not just about travel times for vessels, but it's about the free movement of goods, prices for commodities and goods that everyone uses. Houthis have promised to keep attacking Israeli vessels or Israeli-linked vessels as they view them. And they even warned the United States against trying to disrupt their activities, saying that they would attack American warships if they felt there was a threat on their interests in the regions. And I think we should definitely mention what's happening in Gaza. It's been about 2 full months since the ground invasion of Gaza, and 2.5 months since the start of the Israeli bombing campaign. The humanitarian situation inside the Gaza Strip keeps on deteriorating. The latest sign of how bad things are is the joint report by the UN and several NGOs released on Tuesday that declared catastrophic hunger, as they called it, in Gaza, which is just one step away from the official declaration of famine. Now, if we look back in history, the UN has declared famine only twice in the past 20 years in different parts of the world, including in Sudan most recently. That report suggests that more than 1.3 million people in Gaza are now believed to be in the emergency or in the catastrophe stage as far as hunger goes, and food shortages are reported to be so extreme that 1 in 4 households suffers from starvation. Israel has begun to allow more humanitarian aid to Gaza in recent weeks. We saw more trucks, but the amount is still inadequate to meet the needs of more than 2 million people, most of whom have been displaced of their homes by IDF bombings in the center and in the north of Gaza, and have been migrating to a tiny corner in the south of Gaza Strip. If you talk about day-to-day life for Gazans, the people I spoke to, they personally have not seen humanitarian aid or aid packages anywhere if available. They haven't seen them being distributed. What I have heard from people in Gaza is that you can go to a market, they call it a market, where you can buy some of the aid food, which is clearly marked not for sale. And I've seen some of the pictures. Someone have sent me snapshots of packs of energy biscuits labeled not for sale in Arabic and in English. And this is the stuff that gets sold in Gaza. So this shows another dimension, another urgency to the ceasefire talks that I spoke about earlier.
Thank you so much, Nataliya. Nataliya, could you tell us just a little bit about the story you wrote up for the Telegraph about the IDF almost capturing a Hamas leader, the mastermind of October the 7th? What happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yahya Sinwar is the central figure of what happened in Israel on October 7th and the war that followed. He is not only the leader of Hamas, there are several leading figures in that movement, but he's believed to be the masterminder of the attack. He's someone who spent 2 decades in an Israeli prison. He was released about 10 years ago. Unlike many other Hamas leaders, both his supporters and sort of foes in Israel, if I may put it this way, have described him as a fanatic in both positive and negative sense of the word, whichever side you take here. And I've heard from many people that if it wasn't for Sinwar, that attack maybe would not have happened because of the sheer scale of it, of the audacity, of the fact that anyone who would be masterminding that attack would imagine that the pushback, that the Israel's reaction would be as catastrophic as it was. So in that context, it's not surprising that catching Sinwar and eliminating Sinwar, as they called it, has been one of the primary goals for the Israeli military in Gaza. they have vowed to eradicate Hamas, and they have also vowed to hunt down Sinwar in this symbolic gesture of going after the person who orchestrated the massacre on October the 7th. There were different reports in recent weeks and months how close the IDF to catching him. Obviously, it's one of the key war goals. A couple of weeks ago, we heard from senior IDF figures that they have surrounded one of Sinwar's houses, and they believed he was there. Obviously not in the actual house, but somewhere underground. And just earlier this week, we heard that the IDF and Shin Bet, the Israeli security agency, were very close to catching Sinwar actually in recent days and more than once in recent weeks. According to Israel's Channel 12, Israeli forces were immediately in the underground tunnels where Sinwar was hiding just shortly. So he managed to flee just before the troops arrives. Obviously, it shows that if that indeed is true, the Israeli troops have excellent intelligence tracing the most wanted person in Gaza. But so far, he's been able to escape. He was originally hiding in Gaza City in the north, as far as we understand, and later managed to escape to Khan Yunis in the south, which has been one of the epicenters of fighting. Khan Yunis has seen some of the worst bombings in this war, but so far we haven't heard an indication that he has been caught or that the IDF is just about to do that.
Thank you so much, Nataliya. And just finally, last time we spoke, you were in Bethlehem in the West Bank, looking for signs of Christmas, and you didn't find many. Has that changed much recently?
I was quite surprised to hear from the Bethlehem City Hall, where I was just a week ago. And at that time, the mayor of Bethlehem told us that there would definitely be no celebrations because of what's happening in Gaza, and everyone was so distraught. No one was in the mood to celebrate. So I recently heard from them, and I received an invitation to come to Bethlehem on Christmas Eve. I was a bit surprised, thinking that maybe they are going to light that Christmas tree after all. And it turned out to be that it's going to be something completely different. So apparently there is going to be a ceremony of raising the Palestinian flag and inaugurating something that they called the art vigil of the nativity under the rubble. So it looks like they will try to make a point on Christmas Eve, sending a message of peace, of ceasefire, calling for ceasefire in Gaza, while trying to do it on Christmas Day. So I will hope to make it there on Sunday, on Christmas Eve, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Nataliya. Ahead of Christmas, we're actually going to stay with Nataliya, who recently interviewed Jerusalem's only certified Santa, who's been having a very low-key holiday season. Back to Nataliya Vasilyeva.
I've been Santa 15 years. After I've been in Santa school in the United States, I came back and I say I want to do something different. We never have Santa house in Jerusalem. Maybe someone used to put suits just for fun. It's not like to be professional. Actually, I'm the only certificate Santa Claus, not only in the Holy Land, also in the Middle East.
Okay.
Because the record of Santa Claus for the school which I've been, when I was there, around 6,000 was educated. And I asked them, in the record, did somebody came from the Holy Land?
Right.
Never.
Right.
Did somebody came from the Middle East? Never. You are the first Santa Claus certificate Santa from the Holy Land and from the Middle East.
But anyhow, you're growing up in Jerusalem. Then how did you get the idea to make a living out of it?
First, my family lived here more than 900 years. We are the first Christian family in the old city of Jerusalem because they used to do a lot of work also. Like now, hundreds of years, families used to do to work and build churches, help and work in the churches. And then we have tiles factory in Jerusalem. This is my grandfather. Tiles
that's
factory.
so beautiful,
And it's used to be. This is the way how they used to do the tiles in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And of course, how I become to be Santa. That's a good question. That.
How do you get an idea?
Yes, actually, my father used to wear Santa Claus for me and my two sisters, as every father and mother want to make kids happy.
Yeah.
And before 15 years ago, I just found a his suit, which he used, which is like, not like normal suit.
Yeah,
I put it on and make fun. And then I went to Jaffa Gate because the municipality of Jerusalem give Christmas tree. And I went just one day a year for 2 hours. I went to Jaffa Gate, and that's how it started first time. And
So you went dressed up, right?
yeah, but it's not like professional.
Yeah.
And I look at the eyes of the people and children. Wow. Shiny eyes, happy, smiling. Wow. Is this like, did Santa do this? Because when I was a kid, I never meet Santa, real Santa.
Yeah.
Okay. I see in television when we used to do like meet somebody that like not really professional Santa. And from this moment, I say, wow. Why not? I want to give them happiness for the children. And after the year and year, everybody say, are you coming to Jaffa Gate just for, for the Christmas, distribute the Christmas tree. And I say, okay, I'm coming. Then I came next year and the third year and the fifth year. After the fifth year, I say 2,000 years, they used to ride and transport in Jerusalem was on the camel. I want to try to enter Jerusalem on the camel. Which I did today. Today was a big, from 6 in the morning, I'm riding everywhere in Jerusalem. It was beautiful. I went from the Mount of Olives, showing that I'm coming to Jerusalem.
Where does one get a camel in Jerusalem?
The people own, you work for tourists to take a picture, to ride a camel. That's what you used to do before Jaffa Gate, but they don't do it anymore. And that's what happened. I entered to Jerusalem on a camel. And that's how it was published everywhere in the world, the news, saying the Santa Claus in Jerusalem ride a camel. And that's how it's grown more and more and more. And in 2016, I received a call from Santa School. Are you the Santa Claus from Jerusalem who ride a camel? I said, yes. What? And then, do you like to join our Santa School? I said, yeah, why not? And then I went next year, 2017. I did we were 600 Santa Claus there from all around the United States, Denmark, Finland, Norway. I learned more about the word of Santa Claus. And then I came back. And I start to think, I have 3-4 months. Shall I try? Yeah, why not? I start with this room only. And then I start to collect like workshop, cookie kitchens, the Christmas tree, the nativity, and the fireplace, and all. Try to collect most of the stuff I have from my grandfather and my father, like tools. And hundreds of years, they never make toys from plastics or from factory. Yeah. Only wood. And material. That's how they used to do toys. And that's what I show the kids and the children, the people in the world. And that's how it is. And I came back from Santa School. I started to prepare here. First year was shocked. I didn't tell nobody about it. And suddenly I announce it. We have a Santa house. And that's how it continue. Be more and more. I go every year, travel to United States, Denmark. We go to the World Congress, Santa Claus Congress in Denmark, Copenhagen in July. And I meet all the Santa. I'm ambassador now. They gave me the ambassador for all the Santa around the world to the Holy Land. And of course, I make the oath. What's mean the oath? If you wear your red suit, you put your hand and you promise to God that you want to give your best when you're wearing as a Santa for the children. That's the message I want to bring. For me, Jerusalem is the heart of the world. And we try to bring the peace and love from the heart.
Right. On a regular year, who typically comes to see you?
All religion, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, everybody. Everybody come here. Everybody love Christmas, and everybody want to come, especially the Christian community, tourists, international. But it's more from different religions because they want to live the spirit and the happiness for Christmas. They love it, I always try to, for me, whatever happened, which we have passed with Corona and now also with the war, but I tried always to bring this message. I don't care what's going on. If I stop to do because of this, then what about children? What about our message? Where nobody can hear it. We need to send this message with the light of the tree, light of peace from Jerusalem around the world.
How does the old city feel different now from...
Especially Jerusalem, in the old city, it's empty because people live from tourism. When they are tourists, it's something else. All people wait until they open because the airport, no flights also. And they're scared to stuck here, And I contact many people from around, they say, when we want to open, we want to go back, you know. But I wish soon the war will finish and we go to normal life. Sometimes they used to have war between Gaza, but I never see it like this, really seriously. The children tell me, are you coming because of the war? Yes. I do my best to comfort you.
I spoke to some people yesterday, parents of kids, and some of them said it wasn't a dilemma for them at all, whether to come at all, because like they don't feel like celebrating. Everyone feels very sad. Do you get the feeling from your guests that people are struggling to find, holiday spirit to celebrate this year?
Especially now. I have 2 days. I have here many people came. Oh, thank you, Santa, because you open your house. Because there's nothing in Jerusalem, in the old city, nothing is active, nothing has happened because of Christmas. Everything is shut down, no lights, no Christmas. That's the things I'm trying to fight for that, to bring as much I can to make it happen and to send the message from Jerusalem for Christmas. I think they need to not celebrate, but just do something for the children or light a tree of peace. You don't need to celebrate big celebration, just you can do it. But that's what I say, people, put Christmas tree in your home. Because you want your children to feel the spirit and the Christmas time.
Battle Lines is an original podcast from The Telegraph. To stay on top of all of our news, analysis and dispatches from the ground in Israel and Gaza, subscribe to The Telegraph, or sign up to Dispatches, which brings stories from our award-winning foreign correspondents straight to your inbox. We also have a live blog on our website, where you can follow updates as they come in throughout the day, including insights from contributors to this podcast. If you appreciated the podcast, please consider following Battle Lines on your preferred podcast app. And, if you have a moment, leave a review, as it helps others find the show. As disinformation is a particular problem during conflict, we are relying on your support more than ever. Battle Lines is part of wider Telegraph foreign coverage in our podcasts. If you're interested in finding out more about the war in Ukraine, you can listen to Battle Lines' sister podcast, Ukraine the Latest. This episode of Battle Lines was produced by me, David Knowles, and executive producer Louisa Wells.